Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Normal Guy of the North here, and I'm going to start myself a new segment. And yes, got the camera turned on. This is my AI voice. I'm a robot still. So people say, I don't know, I don't care. What we're talking about is going to be captain skills. I've already reviewed the unique commanders in the armory. I did it a couple months ago, told you all about them, what they do. You things like Conrad and Lisboa, who are still completely busted. Put them on certain boats like the Libertad or the Valparaiso or the Utrecht, and you have a completely broken thing. Not as bad as Cincinnati and the Julio's there. That is one broken ship with that captain. But what I talk about are captain skills based on certain types of ships. Not every destroyer is the same, but I've broken it down into kind of like 4 categories, and I'll go through that with you. So you got the Harugumo here, right over here, the Harugumo, and that ship itself is a gunboat with torpedoes. So I'd say it's mostly a gunboat. Now, if you want a true gunboat, the Lushun is a complete gunboat with no smoke. And she just decided to go daga daga daga. Then of course you got the Daring. She's not really a gunboat, not really a torpedo boat. She's kind of a jack of all trades. Kind of good that way. And of course I grabbed the Shimakaze because she is a pure torpedo boat. And I wanted to go through the captain skills, whether you have a 6-point captain, 10-point, or me, all my captains are 21-point captains. So think of it with starting off with the torpedo boat. You want to work on torpedoes. Japanese ships do hit like a truck with their guns, but she's not a gunboat. She's not doing grease the gears. You're not getting into gunfights. You don't have to do that. And since I have 12-kilometer torpedoes, unless it's Russian radar, I'm not going to fire point blank. So I always start off with liquid air. It gives you a 30% chance of flooding. That is important with torpedoes when you're going to spam upwards of 15 torpedoes. Then, of course, I always go for Consumable Specialist. This gets your consumables back up and going 7.5% faster. This is kind of key to making things happen. The next one I always take is consumable enhancements. That allows your consumables plus other skills to last even longer. That includes smoke and speed boost. Now, when you're sitting here, you want on destroyers, preventive maintenance and last stand. This makes sure your modules don't get killed. This also makes sure you can actually get, your engine doesn't stop when you're doing circles. I did that in the Lushun recently and forgot that I was experimenting and didn't have either on there during a game, so it didn't go well. Next for me is always going to be taking torpedo reload time because torpedo boats are usually, unless you're pan-European, they're pretty slow. This is like over 2 minutes, but it gets it down by 10 seconds. In this case, it's down by 20 seconds. So now, of course, I take adrenaline rush. Because you're going to get hit, you're going to lose health, things just get faster. Now, I always take on the 4th line here, I take Dazzle because this will increase your ship speed by 8% when you're detected, and dispersion of shells fired by the enemies by 20%. As you turn out, it does help. Then, of course, you're a torpedo boat. You want to have concealment. So if you're actually going to sit there and do a 10 captain build, the first thing I would actually go for, if I'm being honest, I would go preventive maintenance. I would do last stand. There's 3. And then you might look at it and going, okay, what's next? I think you should do personally either fill the tubes or adrenaline rush, right? Then, of course, grab concealment. So I would do that. And that's a 10-point captain. Invest in these skills as quickly as you can. You want to help yourself out. Now, if you're going to go look at something like the Harugumo, gun and torpedo boat, I build it slightly different. I'll tell you why. So right off the bat, I'm going to use Consumable Specialist. I want that. It gets all these up 7.5% quicker. I told you that earlier. Then, of course, you've got consumable enhancements. Everything lasts 10 seconds longer. Then, of course, you've got your preventive maintenance, which is important to have, and last stand. These are the 1 and 2 point skills for destroyers that I think are very important overall for everybody. Now, for me, I take adrenaline rush because, like I said earlier, you're going to get hit. I take Dazzle because when I'm in this boat, like the Shimakaze and Akatsuki, I just hold the left mouse button down. I just go daka 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 daka. I don't care. I also have the range mod so I can hit farther. Concealment is very important to you so you can disengage and get the heck out of there. And then, of course, I take Relocator. Now, most of my crews and most of my destroyers, I take this. If I'm in a gunboat, I am going to be gunning, not firing torpedoes. I don't care if a destroyer, I'm in the Shimakaze and it's 10 kilometers away from me. I don't care. I'm not going to get in a gun battle with it. It's fine. I'm not going to shoot it. But this one right here helps as a gunboat because I'll know exactly where the closest person is to me. If I spot it's a cruiser in a battleship, great. If I can't see it, it's another DD or a sub. So I know that's what I want to look for. These boats are great for killing submarines, especially with speed. Now, same thing if I was going to build a gunboat with a 10-point captain, last stand and preventive maintenance are like key for me. You have to do that. Then, of course, I would grab adrenaline rush, and then I would go to concealment. I would take Dazzle first before I take relocation, in my opinion. Now, overall, Daring is not one of those boats that's, it's not a torpedo boat, it's not a gunboat. So I take things a little bit differently than the boat. I'm not trying to get into gunfights with this. Don't get me wrong, she can win gunfights. I think she's 2.9 seconds, if I remember correctly. Yeah, 2.8 seconds for reload. But I take it a bit differently because she has short duration smoke. And by the way, if you're a specialty captain, turn these off. When I see these in battle against you and they go off, especially the shell itself or the signal flare, I see this go off. Yeah, I know exactly which captain you have, and I will change my playstyle because of it. Now, first thing, again, on a destroyer, take preventive maintenance, last stand. Then, of course, you got to turn around with yourself and say, okay, I want to get Consumable Specialist. I want them up. Now, with this specialty captain, it's 10% reduction, which for him in smoke, and this is why I use Cunningham on my destroyers, that's a big thing in short duration smoke. I get back into smoke and I have hydro up faster. It's important. The last thing I do is consumable enhancement. They last an extra 10%. Smoke lasts 10%. They're not great smokes, but if I can add a 3 or 4 seconds onto it and I can get a couple more shots off, I'm happy. Then, of course, it's adrenaline rush. You want to make sure you take that in. Now, for this boat, I do take, for this type of line, I do take Dazzle, which I've already gone through, and I take Concealment Expert. However, with short duration smoke, I always take main battery and AA Expert. This increases my battery firing range from 12.8 kilometers out to 15.3. So if I see a battleship that's way out there and I originally would not be able to shoot it, I now can shoot it. And when I'm in smoke, I'll let it on fire. I'll go between 2 battleships and just start shooting at them just to get them on fire and burn. That's what I end up doing. That's how I look at it. Now, if you want a actual gunboat, this Lushun is a pure gunboat, no smoke. This could somewhat work, somewhat not work, and I haven't finished yet, but I'll show you why. And then what you want to do and what you want to take. This would be comparable if you want to do the French boats as well. This boat is kind of a gunboat that ambushes other destroyers. The French boats, you might want to consider taking main battery so you can use your speed and shoot at distance if you want. But I'm pretty aggressive in this boat. And I'm also pretty aggressive in my French boats. They're pure gunboats and I want to kill people. So while I do still take preventive maintenance, and I do take, in this case, last stand, which is typical. And of course, I do take Consumable Specialist. And of course, I do take Concealment Enhancement. Makes my Hydra last an extra 12.5 seconds. This is important. Now, there's a bit of controversy here. I'll take Adrenaline Rush. And of course, I'm going to take Dazzle and I'm going to take Concealment Expert. If you notice in this deep water boat, I take Torpedo, fill the tubes. Get my Torpedo Reloads down an extra 10%. While she's actually a gunboat, she also has amazing deep water torpedoes. I would not take this with French boats, if I'm being honest. I just wouldn't. And as for last captain skill, this is what I would do. I would go look at artillery first and find out what's the turning turret traverse. It's 180 degrees in 10 seconds. That's not good. The reason being is you're going to get in a gunfight and you're gonna make a turn to turn out and your guns will not be able to track. That's one of the biggest problems I find this boat has. So I always take grease the gears. It makes it much easier for me. So now it's down to 8.7 seconds. I can get around and fire as quick as possible. That's what I take. You may want to take something different, but that's what I take. We'll just match that. There we go. I wanted to show you that. And the French boats, of course, like I said, are a bit different. I don't normally have to do this. You have to do this on German destroyers normally because they're too slow to turn. But you have other skills. This is going to be a new series for me that I'm going to do. I'm going to do all the captain skills for all the ships. That's going to include all the classes. And then I'm going to start going through the same thing on flags and the same thing on the actual modules. I want to build this out as a series going now between now and Christmas and finish it out. So that way you guys have a complete library. And I'll put a new playlist in there and you guys can go through this and research this and go through it all the time. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comment. I'm really happy to keep doing this. Tomorrow we'll do another one on probably subs or cruisers or whatever. And no, I'm not going to make an hour-and-a-half video. I know you guys like it when it's concise, quick, and slow. That's what I want to do. But if you could, click on the screen for the other videos you have, some more World of Warship content. I really do appreciate what you do. But as always, take care, stay safe. I wish you all the best. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.